will be at or below freezing in less than 24 hours. We'll go from the sun that we've had today, man, it was nice, in the 60s, and we'll go back to clouds, and of course those 30s and snow happening across northwest Arkansas and the River Valley in less than 24 hours. I think much of the natural state will have at least a minimal coating of some fresh snow as our next storm system comes in. We wanted to hop on and let you guys know what we're seeing new tonight. You know, we're getting right to the point where we're just a few hours away from our next winter system, and so there's a lot of different things coming in together. We're getting our live streams ready. If you have the 5 News app, you're about to get a notification. But let's go ahead and get things rolling. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll get to those here very shortly. But man, we've got a good little dose coming in. Now, compared to some of the other storms that we've had recently, this one isn't going to really amount to anything like that, where, you know, for days it's hard to really travel. This is a quick hitter. It's in, it's out, and it's done. And we start to warm back up for the weekend. So I'm going to get this going. But let me get the questions up as well. All right, so what's new here tonight is that the overall track continues to push just a little bit farther south. That low pressure right now is somewhere in the panhandle of Texas, kind of eastern New Mexico. As it dives south, it's going to be diving closer to this pink color. And as it does so, it's going to allow colder air to come into northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Now, that's not to say that some mix may not be possible in parts of western Arkansas. It may. Right when the snow starts, our temperatures will probably be 34, 35, 36. We could have a couple raindrops mixing in, but then that cold air is going to be right in, and that's going to go away. So there may be a brief hour of some wintry mix for us in the late morning hours right along the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line, and then we should switch over to snow. If you look really closely, notice how the blue colors really deepen towards the north and east. Well, as this low pressure is moving across the Red River and into southern portions of Arkansas, it's going to be fairly weak. This isn't a monster storm for us. But as it moves eastbound and more of that Gulf of Mexico moisture hits it, wraps it up, this thing's going to strengthen and intensify as it hits Tennessee and up towards the northeast. So we're kind of dodging something right here, to be honest. We'll get a little bit of a coating, and then it looks like the eastern part of the United States will definitely be in business. So let's talk about what we're seeing. I want to show you where the temperatures are right now. The cold front, that cold front is just on our doorstep. That cooler air hitting the plains. We've dropped well below freezing in parts of Missouri and Kansas, and some of that cold air is going to be moving in. There's that low pressure sitting there in West Texas, eastern New Mexico, and that's going to help dive some of this colder air in and give us a chance for snow coming up. We're sitting in the 50s right now this evening. I hope you had a chance to enjoy the sun the past 2 days, because the next day, the next 24 hours, we're not going to have any sun. The clouds are going to be coming in, and then by mid to late morning, that snow will be coming in as well. How much snow? Well, it looks like the chance is starting to go up a little bit more for the River Valley. A couple different reasons why. First, that low pressure is tracking just a little bit farther south. Most of the highest snowfall accumulations are on the north side of the track. This black line shows you where we're roughly expecting the track to go, just north of Texarkana and El Dorado. You go north of that, we're in business to at least get a dusting, an inch, maybe even up to 2 inches. In northwest Arkansas, and for much of northern Arkansas, including the mountains, I think we're going to get about an inch, maybe 2 inches. There could be a few of us, especially in the higher terrain areas, that try to get 3. So we're only talking a little bit about snow, but still something to talk about going into your Friday. It's going to be interacting with plans. I know some schools have already switched to some AMI days. We've had a couple cancellations coming in, a couple early releases. We'll have all that information, of course, on our website. And then you guys get the information, too, if you guys' kids are in the school systems as well. But then throughout the River Valley, it gets a little bit trickier. It's looking like in the higher terrain, south of Kavanaugh, south of Mount Magazine, here on the northern fringes of the Ouachitas, we may get a little bit more snow. That would be about Greenwood south, Poteau south, Paris, Boonville south into Waldron, and parts of, as you head even south and westward Latimer County. We may get a little bit more. What happens is as these storm systems come in over some terrain, that air hits the terrain and then it's forced up, because you got to go up those mountains, you got to go up those hills, and that can help intensify and enhance some of these bands of snow that come in. And so we may be expecting a little bit more. You're wondering why this baby blue color comes right in along the Arkansas River, Clarksville, Fort Smith. What happened to our snow? There's still some of us that may get an inch, but I think to go on the conservative side, the safe side, I think we'll try to get at least a dusting in around Fort Smith, Van Buren, Salisaw, Shady Point, maybe Fort Chaffee area, Ozark, right into the Subiaco area, Clarksville, Lamar, Knoxville. I think we've got a solid chance of at least a dusting, but then a few of us may try to get an inch as well. We'll just have to see. Let us know what you get. But the higher chances for the higher accumulation totals will be a little bit farther north. And then I haven't drawn them, but lots of even darker blues, maybe even pink you could put on the color table for heavier snow once this thing really strengthens off towards our east. We're just kind of getting glanced real quick with some of the snow. This is a closer look here at home where some of that snow will fall, dusting closer to Fort Smith and east towards Ozark. You head south of Greenwood and Poto. I think we'll try to get maybe around an inch. A few of us maybe even closer to 2 inches, 1 to 2 inches reporting across northwest Arkansas. Let's take a look at the big picture. We looked at our temperatures, but let's look at that cold front itself. Snow is now filling in along the entire cold front. As this system dives south, some of those snow showers will start to move in as well. Here's a little bit closer view. That snow is, I'd say, about 30 miles, 40 miles north of Joplin. So it's got a ways to go. We're going to have all night. In fact, as you're sleeping tonight, no snow is in the forecast. Even as we're headed out the door tomorrow morning, we'll talk about timing here in just a moment, but as we're headed out the door tomorrow, most of the time, most of it's going to be dry. Thinking nothing came. I guess we dodged the system. Not quite. It's going to be coming in probably, mid to late morning. It's going to take a little bit. So I think for the morning commute, we're mostly safe. It's throughout the middle part of the day when some of the snow will start to fill in here at home. And that's why we've got winter weather advisories. Initially, they were just posted for northwest Arkansas and northeastern Oklahoma. But with that southern track, winter weather advisories have been extended farther south because we could get a quick burst of snow. I mean, some of us may only see snow for 3 or 4 hours. This isn't a long window. This isn't a huge storm for us. In fact, it's kind of small in terms of its width as it starts to really shape and take form later tonight. It'll come in and it'll come out. But we've got winter weather advisories for the majority of Arkansas. All of the river valley, all the mountains, and all of northwest Arkansas, we've got that winter weather advisory. Zooming in closer to home, we still have those clear skies. We just had sunset, a little bit of twilight left, but those clouds are moving in quickly. I think overnight tonight, clouds will start to increase. So by tomorrow morning, most of us should be just pretty much overcast, and it'll be a lot colder. Right now, we're sitting in the 50s, although we're already starting to cool off in northwest Arkansas. We've got some 30s now reporting in Rogers. We'll take a little bit closer of a view. There's a huge difference right now between Fayetteville north to Bentonville. Some of those northerly winds are now starting to come in. Once that north wind hits your neighborhood, expect temperatures to drop for the rest of the evening. We're now in the low 40s, mid 40s in Benton County. We still have some upper 40s and low 50s in Washington County, but that cold air is diving south. In the River Valley, it's going to take us a little bit longer in order to get some of that colder air. Still sitting at 52 in Clarksville, 54 in Poto, 56 right now reporting in Fort Smith. But that cold air is going to come in, set a base to allow some of the snow to start to accumulate by tomorrow. All right, so what's next? Let's talk a little bit more about timing. In northwest Arkansas, I think the snow is mainly going to begin around 9 o'clock. Some of us closer to the Oklahoma state line, we may get it a little bit sooner, maybe closer to 8, but I think up and down the I-49 corridor from Bella Vista, Bentonville, and Rogers, south to Springdale, Fayetteville, and Greenland, and West Fork, closer to 9 o'clock. In the River Valley, it'll take us just a little bit longer. And we may start off with more of a mix. I think in Northwest, we don't really have to worry as much about a mix because some of us are now in the 30s. I mean, we saw that in Rogers. In the River Valley, though, we may have some mid-30s, upper 30s in the morning. We may have a couple raindrops mixing in with the snow first. We're not expecting ice. That's some good news. But a little bit of that wintry mix right around 11 or so. By noon, we'll really start to switch over to some of that snow. We're talking within about 30 miles, 40 miles of Fort Smith and Van Buren. And then the most of us will get that burst of snow until 5 or 6 o'clock, until about sunset. After sunset, this thing is out the door. So here's a general way to look at it. Chances low in the morning. We'll be able to get out the door fine. Is after 9, 10 o'clock when the precipitation will start to move in. And then it really peaks from about lunch till 3 or 4 o'clock. Once we get towards that evening commute, most of the damage may have been done. Now in Johnson County and Logan County, a little bit farther, towards the east, we may still have some of those heavier bands because this whole thing's going from west to east. But we'll try to wrap things up somewhere around that evening commute. But bridges and overpasses are likely to get really slick. I'll show you why. Here's a look at Futurecast. That cold front coming in later tonight, dropping those temperatures, those north winds start to come in. Tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, We'll have a lot of clouds, but then we'll just start to watch some of those initial bands of frozen precipitation move in from the west. I think we're mainly talking about snow in northwest Arkansas. I honestly think this pink color, the mix, will be a little bit farther south. I think it's pure snow for Washington County, Benton County, Madison County, and Carroll County. In the River Valley, we'll start off with that mix coming in 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. By lunchtime, I think most of us should start to get into on some precipitation, and maybe an hour or two later for us towards the south and east. But eventually, look what happens. All this cold air dives south, we'll get that frozen precipitation, and there may be some really good bursts. The real reason why the River Valley snowfall totals are going up is because we'll really drop that temperature, and there may be a little bit more moisture closer to the low pressure system. Notice in northwest Arkansas, the colors aren't as bright. There may be some dry air by 2 or 3 o'clock that starts to weaken some of that snow, and we may get a good burst for us in the River Valley. That's why if you are tuning in from our 5 News, we got that push notification on your phone. River Valley chances for snow continue to go up. We've really got to watch this. There could be a good burst right in the middle part of the day. That'll continue to 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Eventually, we start to wrap up. Now, I honestly think this is off. I think this is just going to be some flurries towards our west. Temperatures should be right next to freezing or below freezing. I don't really think we'll have to worry too much about rain afterwards. And this would be super light anyways, but I think that's really going to be flurries for us. And Friday evening, 5, 6 o'clock towards sunset, everything's a lot weaker. We're still sitting next to the freezing mark. And then we wrap things up into the overnight hours, and then we're done. So 1 to 2 throughout the Ouachitas, throughout much of the River Valley south of Fort Smith, away from the Arkansas River. You head back up north into the Boston Mountains. You head into northern Crawford County, northern Franklin County, northern Johnson County, 1 to 2 inches, and then 1 to 2 inches in parts of northwest Arkansas. So this is our forecast for now. Everyone's going to get a little bit something different. Our terrain plays some weird things when it comes to snow, but that's our best guess. What about roads, though? We can talk about 1 to 2 inches, but where is that going to stick? I think the majority of it's going to stick just on grassy surfaces. It's going to stick on your mailbox. It's going to stick on some of these signs along the interstate. But the roads may not shape up too badly. A couple reasons why. We'll talk about the non-meteorological kind of at first. RDOT is going ahead and already salting. You might have seen them earlier today going ahead and treating some of the roads. In fact, some local businesses were already hiring some vendors and contractors to come out and do them last night. The pre-treatment's going to work with this round because, yeah, there's going to be a quick burst, but there's not really a lot of rain coming in. I mean, there's really no rain coming in with this system. A lot of times we get these storms to come in. It starts as rain and then it switches over to snow. And in those situations, you start to dilute the treatment. You start to lose its effectiveness, starts to wash away. I don't think that's going to be a case. We talked with RDOT today. They're fairly confident that their pre-treatment should be able to work pretty decently. Now, of course, there's always going to be some bridges and overpasses that get slick, and that's what we're kind of worried about tomorrow afternoon with that quick burst of snow. If you guys remember, I think it was in December, we took Drive 5 out. We had that burst of snow from Fayetteville south into Greenland and West Fork, and it backed up I-49. It was almost impassable there for a little bit. That could happen in some of our mountainous areas. And so if you do have to travel north or south through the Boston Mountains, I-49, US 71, Pig Trail, we'll have to look. There could be some slick bridges and overpasses. Most of the roads may be wet. Mountains, a little bit different story, but I think the majority of I-49 will be wet. So you're kind of looking at this video. I think this is what it's going to look like. Of course, we'll have it more during the daytime, so we'll have a little bit more light. But I think a lot of this will be melting as it hits the roads. And we're talking about major roads. Side roads with less traffic could try to get a little bit of snow to form on top. Just be on the lookout, but this isn't nearly going to be as bad as some of the other systems that we've had recently. On top of that, once this system is done, Friday night and into early Saturday morning, our temperatures are going to start Saturday in the teens. Some of us right near 10 degrees, some of us up to about 18, but most of us should be in the teens. There could be some refreezing on the roads. Depending on how wet they are going into the overnight, we'll have a better picture tomorrow night of how wet the roads are. Sometimes that wind picks up and it evaporates. That's a good thing, gets the wetness off the roads. But if they are still wet, they may try to refreeze. Here's a wider view of future casts. This is 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. We're just starting to get those bands of precipitation closer to 8, 9, 10 o'clock in Northwest. In the River Valley, we eventually get in on some of that activity closer to lunchtime, and then that burst of snow really picks up right over the Ouachitas and the River Valley. Still light to moderate snow reporting in Northwest Arkansas. And once again, I think this band is mainly going to be just some light flurries. And then everything moves east. Heavy snow starts to come in just in time for that evening commute for Conway and Little Rock and much of central and eastern Arkansas. They start to pick up on some of the snow. But look how far south that mix and snow line goes. I mean, we're just about to Texarkana and El Dorado. Eventually, it may snow in even parts of Louisiana briefly. But then everything wraps up and heads off towards the east. And I tell you what, we're going to turn things around big time. The nice thing about these March systems is that they usually don't have a lot of long-lasting cold air. I mean, coming up here in, 10 days, we'll start to get more daylight, than nighttime. As we gain more daylight every day, more heat towards the atmosphere, we've got to warm things up. We're adding 2.5 minutes of daylight every single day, and you're going to feel more of that daylight as you go into next week. So weather alert day tomorrow. Our crews are ready. Our weather team is ready to track it. We'll have several live streams letting you know what's happening, how the roads are doing, all that good stuff. You want to tune in tomorrow. Meteorologist Zach Scott, he'll have a live stream somewhere just after our morning newscast. Those wrap up at 7. Of course, we hop into CBS this morning a couple times until about 9 o'clock, but I expect right around 9 o'clock or so, he'll have an update as that snow is coming in. He'll have the final touches on the forecast as the snow is on our doorstep, so you'll want to tune in with him tomorrow. Lots of sun, though, by the weekend. Clouds will break up Friday night into Saturday morning. Look how cold it's going to be Friday night into Saturday. We'll be in the teens, but barely a cloud in the sky all weekend long. We got the time change, of course, on Sunday, but on Sunday we've got a nice day. We'll head to the mid to upper 50s. We've got a chance for a quick little system coming in Sunday, just a few showers. There's not really a lot of cold air with this one, so I'm not expecting severe weather at this time, just a couple light showers. And then we warm up and we get that sun all the way into the rest of the middle of next week. And there's Thursday, St. Patrick's Day. I kind of almost had to pinch myself because, not because I wanted to look green, but it's already St. Patrick's Day. Seems like March is already flying by. In the River Valley, we've got that weather alert tomorrow. We may start off with a little bit of a mix first, late morning, but I think that snow comes in after lunchtime. And then we've got that good burst of snow from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock. And then we wrap things up. We get the sun back into the forecast for Saturday and Sunday. I think we'll get to the low 40s for Saturday. Shouldn't be too bad. Maybe even a 60, popping a 60 by Sunday. Few showers coming in Monday. I think we have a higher chance in Northwest Arkansas to get some of those showers. Looks like the core of that system is going to be in southern Arkansas. So the farther south you go, the higher chance of rain you may get. And then partly cloudy skies mixed with some sun as you head into the rest of next week and back to 70s. You don't see it here on the 7-day, but if you tune into 5 News at 10, we're going to have that 10-day forecast. And right as we're finishing up St. Patrick's Day, there'll be another storm system moving in. There could be some storms with it. So we'll have the latest on that. Of course, it's several days out, but we'll give you a couple things that we're looking at. And we'll have to see what happens at the end of next week. But it's crazy. We had 2 weeks ago, we had sleet and ice. Last week, we had some thunderstorms. This week, we've got more wintry weather. And then next week, sun turning into more storms. It's just all over the place. But of course, you guys know that's what March tends to bring. I'm going to go ahead and back up to the front. I'll get to the whole storm track. Once again, if you're just joining us, the storm track is looking like it's going to be a little bit farther south. That is helping increase those snow chances for the River Valley. Now, right now, the snow is towards our north. There's that cold front towards the north, too, but it's going to be arriving here very shortly. So we'll be on the lookout for that. There's the cold front. There's the track. All right, made it back to the front. Wintry mix mainly towards our south. We'll get a little bit of a mix at times in parts of the River Valley before we change over to complete snow. And the system really wraps up. Once it heads north and east, it's going to spin like crazy and dump some good snow, I think, from Tennessee into Kentucky and into the northeast. All right, let's talk about what you guys' really questions are. Once it heads north and east, it's going to spin like crazy. Let me turn the volume down. I don't like listening to myself. All right. Louisiana, Chad says, never gets anything but hurricanes and cool weather. Now you've got some chance for a little bit of wintry mix. I think extreme northern Louisiana will get a brief snowflake. JC asks, great question. How do you think the roads will be Saturday afternoon around 2:30 to 3? JC, I think they're going to be great. Now, I'm guessing western Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma. If you're in another part of the country, let me know. But western Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma, where we live here in Fort Smith and Fayetteville, I think the roads this weekend are going to be fine. There may be some patchy ice slick spots, maybe some black ice Saturday morning. But once that sun gets up, I think we'll melt a lot of this away. This is just going to be some snow, and snow is able to melt a lot faster than that sleet. Let me know if you still see some sleet at maybe your local Harps or Walmart location, in a massive parking lot, maybe at the hospital. You may see some sleet still kind of accumulated there. JC says Bentonville. Yeah, Bentonville, I think we're fine. I think we're going to be fine. You may still see a little bit of snow on the grass, but I think roads will melt quickly. We get folks on the roads. I think 2:30 to 3, you're going to be fine. And that's most of Arkansas, too. This weekend, the weather should be great. We'll really try to warm things up. And, we're headed to the 60s by Sunday. Billy asked, how will Saturday morning be in NWA, Northwest Arkansas? Just icy roads, or should they be good? There may be some slick spots in the morning. We're talking 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Once that sun gets up, I think we'll melt anything that's kind of icy on the road. You get a couple cars on it, we should be good. Bridges and overpasses, they'll become good. It's just that early morning, take it a little bit easy. Black ice is tricky because you can't see it. That's why it's called black ice. It looks like the pavement. So just be on the lookout. There could be some of those slick spots, but they won't last very long. Liz says, canceling Rogers. The question is, what about schools? And Rogers, I don't remember, I'm thinking of an AMI day. I could be wrong. But it's tricky because you got to think about coming home. I think headed to work and school tomorrow, we're all fine. The snow will start to come into Northwest Arkansas around 9 or 10. We're already in school for an hour, right? Give or take a little bit, depending on when school technically starts in your district. But then the snow will pick up throughout the lunchtime frame and the afternoon. So it's all about the bus route coming home, parents coming home. I wouldn't be surprised if some extracurricular activities were canceled. We were talking with Jacob. They, I believe, played a doubleheader today, talking about the Diamond Hogs. They played a doubleheader today because tomorrow's not looking like good baseball weather. So it's going to be tricky for practices. There'll be a coating of some snow. So just keep that in mind, trying to plan, with the kiddos, what you're trying to do as you plan your evening into a Friday evening. Maybe you got date night. I still think date night's still a go, with your significant other. There may just be some slick spots, but I think we'll still be able to cruise down the interstate. I wouldn't go 90, and especially on our bridges, some of our bridges turn, so you got to be really on the lookout for that Sunsets Bridge. That's tricky. The Fulbright Expressway area, I-49 near Fulbright, near 67, exit 67, you got to be on the lookout for that. Let's see. Gail says, will roads be safe Saturday morning? Be a little slick here and there, but I think we'll be able to get rid of those slick spots pretty quickly. Melissa asked, what time will the snow start? Let me go towards our graphics a little bit more. We had a couple different ones to kind of show that. I think we're getting close. Yeah, what's next? I think around Northwest Arkansas, it's going to be around 9 o'clock. Of course, give us some leeway. 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after. We're kind of looking along the corridor of I-49. If you live close to the interstate, it's probably going to be around 9 o'clock. A couple of us a little bit before, a few of us a little bit after. In the River Valley, that mix will start around 11. Now in eastern Oklahoma, we kind of technically count that as the River Valley too, because the Arkansas River still flows into Sequoia County and just north into parts of northern LaFleur County as well. Some of us towards the west may get closer to 10 o'clock, but I think for the Fort Smith Van Buren area, we've got to watch out around 11. So that's several hours into the morning. So there's going to be a lot of dry conditions, a lot of clouds for a while until everything picks up once we get to lunchtime and into the afternoon. The computer's kind of blocking it there for a moment, but I think that burst of snow will last until about 5 or 6. But great question. Peterson asks, what about Springdale? Let me get the snowfall map up for a second. I forgot which way I'm going. There you go. Springdale, we zoom in a little bit closer. Generally, a 1 to 2 inch mark, I think, for us. I think all of us should at least get a coating in Northwest Arkansas. Some of us will get closer to the 1 inch to 2 inches, and when we're saying that, that's not a huge difference, I'll be honest. And the bottom of the snow will be melting a little bit because the ground's kind of warm still, but I think we'll accumulate that mostly on grassy surfaces, your mailbox, your car, anything that's a cold metal surface, that'll accumulate more easily. Your rooftop may do that as well. Maybe your sidewalk, headed up to your front door. But once you head in the road, it probably will be melting faster. A lot of those flakes will probably melt before, they're melting, on the grass and things like that. Your cul-de-sac may have a little bit of snow if you're in a subdivision, thing like that. But once you head out of the cul-de-sac and onto more of a main street, there could be some slick spots. How about tomorrow at Greenwood, Arkansas, at the time school gets out? Great question. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. Here's Greenwood, basically central Sebastian County. Let's walk through this. We're all dry in the morning. I think headed to school and work tomorrow morning will be fine, but eventually that frozen precipitation comes in for the late morning in northwest Arkansas, closer to lunchtime throughout the river valley. But Angie is asking about Greenwood, right close to pickup time. I'm guessing 2:30 to 3:30. Every school is just a little bit different, but I expect some decent snowfall right over Greenwood and most of Sebastian County, right around that school pickup time. So when we're talking about school pickup time, throughout the river valley, good bursts of snow in northwest Arkansas, and may actually start to lighten up a little bit. It'll still be out there, and this green and pink color, throw it out. This is mainly going to be flurries, I think, for us. Temperatures are going to be cold enough, all levels of the atmosphere. Even if they do hit 32, 33, 34, you'll still get mostly snowflakes. There could be a stray raindrop mix in, but northwest Arkansas will be a little bit lighter. In the river valley, we're thinking it will be a little bit heavier right around that school pickup time. And that's, of course, when we start talking about afternoon practices, it's going to be tricky. In and around Fort Smith, south and east of Fort Smith. Sarah asked, what are temperatures for Saturday and Sunday? They're going to be wonderful. Saturday's still cold. We'll be in the upper 30s and low 40s. With the sun, it'll feel a little bit better. But by Sunday, we're going to head towards 60 degrees, and we'll have a lot of sun. It's going to be great this weekend, especially Sunday. You want to get outside. The ground may be a little bit wet because the snow is kind of melting. Now, I think a lot of it may be melted by Sunday. So when we're headed to get breakfast with your family or headed to a church service in the morning, there may still be some piles of snow here and there, but the roads should be fine. But a lot of the snow will start to melt. All right, you guys have had some great questions. Once again, meteorologist Zach Scott, he'll have an update, I think around 9:30 or so tomorrow morning. A lot of different things going on, so he needs to just take a quick moment, get a break, catch himself for a second, and he'll do that live stream with you guys too. And so that'll be some good information, some new information. We'll be watching tomorrow morning. You want to tune in because we'll be seeing that snow. We'll see it towards Tulsa. We'll see it towards Joplin, and we'll be able to see that trajectory, that speed, and then it's just a math calculation. Now, of course, those bands kind of morph over time, but if the band is here in Tulsa and it's moving 30 miles per hour towards the east, it'll be here in a handful of hours, right? We'll be able to take a closer look, but tune in tomorrow morning. We'll see the snow on the radar as it's pressing towards Arkansas. And you'll just want to kind of look out your window, middle of the day, lunchtime, trying to take your lunch break, maybe some snow flying around, maybe some good snowfall too. So we'll be on the lookout for that. This thing's in and out very quickly. Let me get back to the 7-day, and I have one more special graphic to show you guys. I showed it a couple days ago. Not much has changed with it. But here's 7-day. Of course, we've got St. Patrick's Day here on the end of the 7-day. That's exciting. We don't have any no pot of golds, here in the weather studio, but I got a golden forecast. We'll hit the low 70s for you. Partly cloudy skies. After this winter event coming in, next week, and especially the end of next week, you saw those temperatures warming back up to the 70s. Much of the central and eastern United States, we're talking about much warmer than normal temperatures. In fact, a lot of us will be 10 to 20 degrees above normal. We're starting to get to the point where our average highs should be upper 50s, low 60s just across the Ozarks. We're going to be in the 70s, I think. So we've got a good batch of warmer air coming in right towards the Corn Belt, the Ohio River Valley, the Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, and also coming in here to Arkansas and Oklahoma. So that's something to smile about. I think, honestly, when I try to summarize this snow is going to be a snow that I think people may be okay with because it's going to be overall low impact. Yes, bridges and overpasses can get slick, and if they do, we'll have big problems on I-49. That'll be an issue. But if you're away from the interstate, getting on the interstate, maybe you just had to pick up the kiddos from school, just had to get a couple groceries or things like that throughout the day, I think we're okay. The snow will mainly be off the road and into the grass. A couple places may start to get a little bit on the road, and that's where you got to be a little bit careful, of course. But I think this snow is going to be kind of pretty to look at. It's in, and it is out. With this warm weather, it's not going to last long. But expect generally between a dusting to an inch or so. Meteorologist Zach Scott will have the latest tomorrow morning. All right, you guys stay warm. Enjoy the 50s now because we're crashing down quickly overnight. As always, of course, keep it here, keep it local, and as always, we'll keep you advised. Have a good night.